Welcome to video number 3. This is going to be explaining the what we call the artisan espresso instructions. We make our espresso in our locations artisan, which means that we don't use machines basically that like a Starbucks would use, let's say, where you just push a button and you really don't have to adjust a whole lot. So artisan basically means that you are doing whatever you can to do it by hand, and that we're following traditional ways of making it for the best, highest quality. In order to do that, there are 9 steps of espresso making. So we're going to run through these pretty quick. Somebody will run through this with you, hopefully in front of an actual espresso machine. But there are 9 steps to making espresso. It's one of the most critical things that we make on a daily basis. Number 1, we need to have fresh whole beans. It's really important that the beans we use are fresh, that they were made fresh, that when you opened a 5-pound bag of beans, that they are kept out of light and kept out of oxygen. So fresh beans need to go into the hopper of the grinder, and they can't be sitting there for a number of days. It's really important. Number 2, the grind. Okay, so the beans at first, of course, go into the hopper. The next thing we do is grind them up. The proper grind is critical. Espresso beans change based off humidity and temperature. So the grind that you're going to get from those beans will be different if the air conditioning's on or the heater, or if it's raining outside, or if it's nice out, or if it's really hot outside, or if it's 50 degrees. All those things change the espresso beans. So they grow a little bit or get a little bit smaller based off those factors. So the amount of beans that grind through and the size of your grind is one of the most critical things that a barista does. The proper grind basically is the first step to making sure that your espresso is going to be okay. So the proper grind for espresso is pretty fine, and grind is something that a barista should be adjusting multiple times a day while they are making product. Some people will say, "Oh, the grind's good today, don't touch it," or some people might say, "Don't ever touch the grind, like we don't touch that." And that is completely not true. A well-trained barista, and every barista that works in a Liquid Planet environment, needs to be trained how to properly adjust the grind up and down based off the environment in the day. Literally, if the sun is coming through the window or not, makes a big difference sometimes. So that's really important. Number 3, the amount of grounds. Our grinders grind based off gravity. Okay, so when you push the button on a grinder, typically it's just going, okay, I'm going to grind for a certain amount of time, and as many beans that fall through the grinder right now that's just what you're going to get, based off, of course, the size of the grind. So if you grind really large, then more beans are going to fall through, because in the 10 seconds it takes to grind, or 5 seconds, it's going to grind a lot more beans. If it's really fine, it's going to grind less amount of beans at a lot finer rate in those 5 seconds. So the amount of grounds you get out is really critical. We always pull double shots at Liquid Planet. We never, all the machines are set for double shots, so we never pull single shots, and we never pull triple shots. So for consistency purposes, we do that. We want basically somewhere around 17 to 21 grams, 16 to 20 grams in each double espresso basket, in each portafilter basket. So, but that really depends on what machine you have and how it's dialed, and lots of different factors. But the amount of grounds should be very consistent. The grinders we use should always basically give you the same amount. But the barista still needs to know how to adjust, adjust your grind, and that adjusts the amount of grounds that you get. Number 4, the tamping pressure. A lot of places, this is where the artisan comes in. True artisan means that you're hand tamping. We actually don't do that. It's one of the only steps that we've replaced with our baristas. We use what's called puck presses. So it's very, very quick to tamp. In our puck press machines, you'll see one when you train actually at your location. But the puck press basically tamps the coffee for you the same exact way every time. You never have to worry about it. Tamping is one of the hardest things to train. and it's one of the most inconsistent parts of true artisan barista production. So we deleted that by using puck presses. So you should have one at your location. Number 5, we got to have clean water. Well, that's something you don't have to worry about. Clean water always comes through for the most part. We have filters on our espresso machines, so we have the right amount of clean water and the right amount of hardness level and minerality in our water as well to make proper coffee. Number 6 is water temperature. Now we're talking about the espresso machine. We started with the grinder, of course, and grinding beans, but now we're talking about an espresso machine. An espresso machine basically does nothing but heat water and pressurize the water system, if you will. So number 6 is water temperature. The espresso machine, that's pretty much all it does. It ensures that your water temperature is always the same. It is incredibly powerful and very fast to heat water. And so that's really, for the most part, nothing you really have to worry about. It just sits there and makes sure it's the right temperature. Espresso should really be coming out at about 198 degrees. Sometimes some machines want it a little bit hotter or a little bit less. So it really depends on which machine you end up using. But for the most part, that's just regulated. Number 7, we got water pressure. Inside each espresso machine, there is a water pump that pressurizes the system inside the espresso machine. So that pump is adjustable. When you push your button to extract espresso, there's a gauge on the front of your espresso machine, and that should jump to about 9 bars of pressure, give or take maybe a half. So anywhere about 8.5 to 9.5 bars is pretty typical, but you want it right at about 9. If it is not at 9 when you extract espresso, then that pump needs to be adjusted. In a worst case scenario, if you hit the button and it's running at 3 bars of pressure, maybe the pump's going out and we have to replace it. But you have to have the right amount of water pressure in an espresso machine to produce espresso. Really what an espresso machine does, again, is it heats water and it pressurizes the system. So you're taking espresso grounds and it's pushing hot water through those grounds, and it's basically creating the same kind of environment as like an Instapot. That's why an Instapot is so fast. It's under pressure. So the coffee ground says, oh crap, I'm in this portafilter and I'm under pressure. I'm under 9 bars of pressure and I got really hot water. So I'm going to start sending out the chemicals that, the natural chemicals that makes espresso and makes crema, basically. So that's what the water pressure does. Number 8 is really looking at your shot times and the volume. For the most part, our espresso machines are always injecting the right amount of volume of water. Every time you push the button, it's going to inject the same amount of water for the most part. And then as a barista, you want to make sure that your shot times are good. Again, that's anywhere from about 18 to 30 seconds, depending on the day. If really good shots come out at 17 seconds, you're fine. If really good shots come out at 32 seconds, you're fine. So it's about the barista skill set at that point. You really want them kind of in the middle. Amazing shots might, perfectly be 2 shots at about 25 seconds, let's say, and they just look beautiful and smell beautiful and they taste beautiful. But anywhere in that range is okay. So that's again where you use your espresso, you use your barista skills and you understand shot times up or down. And the last part is the preservation of crema. When you dispense espresso, and you can visually see that there's a separation of kind of the black coffee at the bottom, and then the majority, which really should be that crema, that dark brown, yummy crema. You need to make sure that you do something with that pretty darn quick. Just like an apple, if you cut an apple, it starts browning pretty quick. Espresso turns very quickly. You have about 30 to 60 seconds to do something with that espresso, whatever you're going to do with it, whether it's mixing it with milk or adding flavor or doing something with it. So the preservation of that's important. You cannot make espresso shots and let them sit for 5 or 10 minutes and then use them in a drink because they will just not taste good. After about 1 to 2 minutes especially, you can really taste the difference in the espresso. It starts denaturing. And so you have to be fast enough and coordinated enough as a barista to preserve your crema and to finish whatever drink that that you're producing.